class! For today's online science class, we will be learning about matter. Ooh! So, what is matter? Let's first take a look at these three objects. We have a baseball, a juice, and wind. What can you observe with these objects? Can you find differences and similarities? Pause the video for you to think. Welcome back. Well, let's first start with the baseball. It is white, it has a red line around it, it's a bit heavy, and it's hard. Now let's look at the juice. You drink this at school, right? You drink it when you're having breakfast, when you're having lunch. So, what do we observe? It has a color orange, it's in a container, it fills up the container, it can move, and that when you spill the juice, it comes right out. Now let's look at the wind. Wow, that wind is really angry about something, huh? You can't see it, but you could feel it. You can't touch it, but you can't also hold it at the same time. So what do all of these objects have in common? They all have mass and volume, which is the definition of matter. Matter is anything that has mass and volume, and it is everywhere. When I mean everywhere, it is everywhere. You're composed of matter, your mom is composed of matter, your desk, your chair, the building you're in, the air around you is everything is matter. Mass, I talked about that matter is anything that has mass and volume. Mass is how heavy an object is without gravity. So your mass does not change when you're on the moon. Pretty cool, huh? Volume is the measure of the amount of space that is occupied by an object. Now let's look back at the three objects we observed. Each one of them have different properties of matter. Let's look at them for a second. The baseball has a shape in that it is circular and you can hold it in your hand. It is not going to change into a flat ball when you throw it or play with it. The juice can change its shape. When you spill it, juice becomes flat on the table as opposed to looking like the container. It is also wet and gets sticky when you spill it all over your shirt. Ew. The wind also does not have any shape. You don't see rectangular winds, don't you? It's invisible. Now what we did is we just described the properties of matter. Good job. The baseball is a solid, the juice is a liquid, and the wind is a gas. These are what we call the three states of matter. Solids hold their shape and they're something that you could hold. Solids are like mountains, your desk, a chair, or your actual school. They can have different textures and colors, but they all hold their own shape. Liquids fill the shape of any container they're in, so it does not have its own shape. Liquids are mostly wet, but they can be sticky, such as honey, or slippery, like oil. So when you pour water into a small rectangular container, it will fill up the container from bottom to top, taking its shape. Gases can fill the shape of a container like liquids, but it can fill up any sides, unlike liquids. If you pour a cup of water into a big container, it won't fill up all the way because you don't have enough water. But if you trap air or any gas into the container, it will fill up the whole container. Pretty cool, right? Now, let's talk about how temperature affects the states of matter. Let's say you have a block of ice. If you leave the block of ice outside in a really hot place, like on a summer day, What happens? Pause the video and think. Welcome back. Of course, the ice is going to melt and turn into water, liquid water. Now let's go the other way. What happens when you put water in a really cold place, like in your freezer? Pause and think. Welcome back. The liquid water will turn into ice. So what does this tell us? Matter can exist in different states depending on the temperature. This is why you see steam when you see your mom boil the water. So the water is turning into a gas. You have 4 changes in matter. Melting, which is when heat changes a solid into a liquid, just as how we saw that ice turned into liquid water when it's in a hot temperature. Freezing, which is when low temperatures change a liquid into a solid, just as how we saw that liquid water turns into ice when you put it in a freezer. Evaporation is when liquids change into gases, just as how we saw that boiling water turns into steam or water vapor with heat. And condensation, which is something that we didn't really touch upon, but that's when cooler temperatures change gas into liquid, which is how rain works and how basically the water cycle works. These are all physical changes. Now let's discuss the final topic in this video, which is chemical reactions. Chemical reactions are reversible and sometimes not reversible. Reversible reactions are like the physical changes we talked about, such as ice turning into water and water turning into ice. You could have an original product and you could have a final product, such as liquid water and ice, but that final product can turn into its original form, such as water turning back into liquid ice, such as ice turning into liquid water. That's called a reversible reaction. But what are irreversible reactions? Let's take a look at an egg. When you crack an egg, it is a liquid and it doesn't taste that great. But when you cook an egg, let's say you fry it in a pan, it turns into a solid and it tastes amazing. But can you try to turn a cooked egg back into a liquid egg? Nope, you can't. No matter how hard you try, the cooked egg will stay cooked. This is an example of an irreversible reaction. The final product cannot turn back into the original form. So, what have we learned today? We learned that matter is everywhere and is something that has mass and volume. There are 3 states of matter, which are solids, liquids, and gases, and there are 4 changes of matter, which are melting, freezing, evaporation, and condensation. There are also reversible and irreversible changes in a chemical reaction. Reversible reactions can turn back into an original form, but irreversible reactions cannot. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and remember to complete the worksheet provided. Have fun!